Good morning, class. Today we are going to talk about basics of robotic process automation. We'll also talk about UiPath as a RPA tool. And in the last part of our session, we'll see a live process automation using UiPath. So let us start with the robotic process automation, what it means, why it is there today, and what exactly we can achieve using robotic process automation. Let us take a step back and understand how our enterprises, our companies today have achieved automation in terms of computers, in terms of processes, and how people in these enterprises are using these applications and enterprise systems to get the business work done. Now, if you try to visualize that how we started our computerization, think of a broader picture. We had 20 years back, 30 years back, systems such as mainframe systems. Companies were automating their business processes using mainframe systems. Today we call all these systems as legacy systems. Subsequently, enterprises start having enterprise applications such as ERP, CRM, HRM, and companies started automating their business processes as well as their internal operations and internal administrative processes using enterprise applications. You would have heard of systems such as SAP, Oracle SAP. There are various customer relationship management softwares. There are various HCM softwares, and these are enterprise-wide applications and systems. So we automated our businesses from internal processes as well as customer-facing processes using these enterprise applications. Now, once most of the organizations have achieved a higher level automation, what happened subsequently? Companies started automating their business processes, business applications. And typically, we would have seen that companies would leverage IT projects to automate their business applications. So if I am in lending business, that I would be automating my business processes or my core processes using IT projects, could be based on Java technologies or .NET and likewise. But the point is that I am initiating large size, large scale IT projects where programming languages are used to come up with business applications. Now, subsequent to business applications, you would see that there are platforms available in the market which are not really requiring a very large size IT projects to be initiated. So not a very large programming teams you need to place, go through the entire SDLC cycle and agile-based cycles, and then come up with your desired applications. Now, there are platforms available in the market such as BPM, Business Process Management, and these companies have automated their business processes using BPM platforms wherein the business focus is more than the IT focus. In a way, these are the business-driven application development rather than the IT-driven. Of course, IT teams are required here as well, but the focus is more from the business process modeling, business process development, and commissioning them into your operations. So BPM such as IBM BPM, Pegasystems, Appian BPM, these are some of the leading vendors where these companies provide, platforms wherein businesses can model their business processes and then build logic as well as user interfaces to come up with a final business usable applications. So again, what I talked about, the mainframe to the packaged ERP enterprise level applications to customized IT-driven software development business applications to business process management applications. So what has happened? Essentially that all the enterprises that we typically see today, they have a variety of business applications. Also, they have internal facing enabler applications such as HCM, Human Capital Management, or HRM, Human Resource Management softwares. Now the fundamental thing is that all these variety of applications, be it legacy applications or very customized business applications or the business processes automated using BPM platforms, we have disparate application systems. We have number of users using these different applications, IT applications, software applications, and we get our business done. So there are business applications, there are business processes that we have to follow, and there are people who are working on these variety of applications internally. Okay, so what has happened? That means we have the variety of applications, software applications. We have variety of different processes that we have to follow internally to get the work done. And these things are done by people. Now, people, processes, and software applications are essentially what we interact with today, whether it is a normal day-to-day work that we have, or we do the business processes for getting business done. Now, here a very important development has happened a few years back, and now we are looking at that. Typically, when we look at our business processes, we do most of the work in a repetitive way. If you think about an insurance company, they would have a very large back office where there will be hundreds of people working on claim processing on everyday basis. So there would be some claims coming in from different sources, could be through their website, could be through their email systems, could be through different agents that they have. And then these set of people would start working on these claims in a very repetitive, methodical way to get the claim processed. Either it will be approved or rejected or exception marked for further clarification, and likewise before it gets finally settled. Now, because of this nature of repetitiveness, where variety of people are working on a similar kind of workflow to get things done, of course, people are interacting with variety of systems, software systems, to get the claims processed. But these processes by and large are very structured processes, very repetitive in nature. They are high volume based and involves a lot of people to get the things done. Now, today we have technology where we can automate such processes very easily. And this is where RPA fits in, robotic process automation. And robotic process automation is all about software robots and has nothing to do with industrial or manufacturing robots. These are RPA is purely software robots, and we can leverage RPA to automate workflows which are repetitive in nature, which are structured in nature, which are workflow based, which are voluminous in nature. And you can imagine that these processes, because we are using just like human, would interface with variety of softwares. We don't need any addition or modification to the existing underlying processes. So RPA, in short, is doing the work that we do as people to get our work done. So I will talk a little more about robotic as we make progress. But if in this particular slide, you can see that we have, the legacy systems such as mainframe. We have enterprise-wide applications such as SAP ERP, Oracle ERP, and likewise. Then we have very customized business applications, totally written as per the needs for a given enterprise. Then we have business process management based business processes automation, which are ultimately software applications. And then using these applications, the people do work to get work done. And this is where the robotics comes into picture to automate these human-centric workflows to get the things done. Okay, if we talk about, the typically what is the size of these projects, typically in ERP, we would be saying that these takes, years to implement. A typical business application of moderate size might take few quarters to get completed. A PPM, which takes care of a fundamental building block into already as part of the BPM, can have a life cycle of few months. So you can develop BPM application much faster. Now, on the contrary, the robotics would take just weeks rather than months or quarters. We can get things done automated in weeks. In some sense, we can call this RPA as last mile automation, because what we are doing essentially, these are all automations, be it the mainframe or the ERPs or the business applications or the BPM based application automation. These are all automation, surely. But robotics provides us to automate the human task involved with all these applications. And that's the reason we can call it as the last mile automation. This is just a slide where you can see where is the involvement of business and IT. So you can see that the ERPs of the world, they are very highly IT resourced and IT driven projects. On the contrary, the robotics and as you go on the left side, BPM, these are highly business resourced, and IT can provide a governance during the execution. The point is that it becomes a darling of businesses, because businesses can drive these projects on their own with a little assistance from IT teams. So a lot of participation from businesses is there in RPA projects. Let me further move on and talk about typically what kind of interfaces we interact with in getting our business processes done. So we deal with desktop application, we deal with web applications, we deal with ERPs like SAP, Oracle, and likewise. We deal with Java-based applications. We deal with a lot of time inputs coming in Excel, in Word, in PDFs, and likewise. And many a times we get our information, data through emails. Of course, legacy systems are there where many businesses get their work done. And Citrix is more about a virtual environment wherein you are working in a remote machine using the applications available on that system. So typically, if you visualize that typically on a daily basis, if you are working on a business process, say a loan approval process or a customer acquisition process or procure to pay process, which is a very lengthy process in many of the enterprises, typically what we do, we interact with all these applications, be it the desktop or the web or Java or ERP, Excel files, emails, PDFs, and likewise. Now, robotic process can automate all these interfaces, and this is where the RPA has its power to provide automation to all these interfaces that typically we as human beings start interfacing to get things done. So we'll talk more about this when we see a live a technical demo. So what is the definition then of RPA? Now you can very easily visualize that the RPA is nothing but it automates computer-based workflow processes involving human work. Means for any workflow which is computer-based involving human to interact with these processes and do few task activities, RPA can automate those tasks. Now, if I deep dive, not each and every process would be a candidate for RPA automation. Processes which are very structured in nature, which are workflow based, which are repetitive in nature, means you do the things one after another, one after another, one after another, and there is sufficient volume to take care of, then it is a very good candidate for RPA automation. So rule-based means which is structured, governed by rules, which are repeatable, which are workflow driven, having large volume, which are human specific or human centric, and all these works are done at the presentation level, the GUI level. So if you go back again and think about this slide, again, these are all user interface components, be it email, Excel, PDF, desktop application, ERP, web, Java, all these are basically the UI level interfaces. And this is what we interact with as human beings and to get the things done. So in RPA terms, there are different types of terminologies. Typically, we call them as robots or software robots. And to repeat, RPA is all about software robots. They have nothing to do with industrial or manufacturing robots. In short, they are popularly known as bots. And bots can be 100% unattended bots, means they work 100% on their own. And some bots can be attended bots, means they would need some human intervention. It could be for decision making, it could be for exception handling, and likewise. So they can be 100% unattended bots, means they don't need any human intervention. And there can be some attended bots also, depending on specialized situations that bot encounter. Intelligent bots is the direction that the entire RPA is heading to. And what it means that the artificial intelligence is coming as integral part of RPA, wherein the intelligent automation becomes the norm. And this is becoming mainstream now in RPA world, where you bring in the artificial intelligence technologies such as machine learning, NLP, NLG, deep learning, and likewise to bring intelligence. So you would see that there are bots who are programmed to do exactly the way you have directed it to, but then you can build in the artificial intelligence which bot can learn as it make progress to learn how to behave in a particular situation and make decisions. So for example, in a process, say for example claim processing, somebody has placed a claim for amount which is larger than the eligibility for this person. So bot, if you have automated this process using a bot, and this bot is processing this claim and then finds that, okay, well, this particular claim is having a claim which is slightly bigger than the eligibility. And so in one way, you can build a rule which can simply say that reject this claim because it is exceeding the eligibility amount for this particular requester. But then there could be some cases where the claim, even though it is beyond the eligibility, but you have certain provisions wherein you can go overdraft kind of a situation and you can still process it but approve the claim up to the eligibility. So process it even if it is exceeding the eligibility, but approve only to the limit. So you might have certain exceptions in your process where the bot is not designed to really take a decision. Now what it will do, bot will put this claim into an exception queue wherein somebody as a human person would come in and will make a decision based on the profile of the person, the other policies that you have within your company to address such situations, the previous history of claim, and likewise. And the human person can decide to approve or reject or take some modified step to process this particular claim. Now, intelligent bot in such situation will start learning from the exception management of the human person. So it would start building intelligence that, okay, in such kind of exceptions, the decision by a human was so and so. And if it starts building a good base, knowledge base of such exceptions, it will start taking decisions on behalf of the human itself, as long as you have provided bot to take such decisions. So the point is that the bot can build intelligence as it processes data over a period of time, and then it can be programmed to build intelligence and take decisions where earlier it was not able to make decisions. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the non-invasive. Non-invasive is one of the key strengths, and this is making RPA very popular with businesses because it doesn't need any modification to your existing business applications or business processes. You can automate your processes, your applications without making any modification. But if today, if I have to commission a BPM project or a IT software development project, very, very likely, or rather 100%, you are going to build something using software development programming languages. But in case of RPA, we don't touch any of the underlying applications, and there is no need to. All we do is basically just use them to automate the human task. So from that perspective, it is non-invasive, and it helps businesses to very quickly, very swiftly automate processes. Another term that becoming very prevalent in RPA is digital workforce. And in a way, it is true that in near future, companies will start planning for digital workforce, just like the companies on an annual budget, they do, okay, this year we are going to hire 5,000 people. It is very likely to happen that, okay, now we will be having 4,000 new hires, and we will be having 3,000 bots doing so and so specific things. And then, of course, these bots will work alongside, which are software bots or software programs, will work alongside human capital, human people. So digital workforce would have ability to do things, which typically is coming from RPA. Digital workforce will have cognitive abilities, means they can start thinking. Now, if you can recall the intelligent bot example that I talked about, the cognitive abilities would be coming in as bots start functioning and gaining knowledge as it make progress in the process executions. And then, of course, the smart analytics, they will be able to analyze their existing database, or the databases are available to them, and help in their decision making. So a digital workforce will be able to do work just like humans do. A digital workforce will be able to think just like human people do. A digital workforce will be able to analyze data to come to a certain conclusion just like we do as human beings. So if we see, what are the various advantages of RPA, and I'm sure you can very well can see that these are the default benefits. So reduced cost will be one benefit, because human will start delegating their repetitive, mundane, at times boring work to these bots, and they will be able to do higher value work themselves. It will bring business agility because the turnaround time will be much faster. Efficiency will be much better in terms of getting things done. Because bots will not do anything different than what they have been programmed to do, the accuracy level will go very high. And of course, the elasticity. The compliance and elasticity means that if today I have need of some work to be done for next 3 months, then I have to hire human people, and then after 3 months, if that work has come down or is no more existing, then what would I do with these human people? I need to deploy them in different projects or different kind of work. But that is not the case with bots. You can scale up, you can scale down on demand, whenever you require. And of course, they are working 24/7, providing a higher level of compliance in a much faster way. You can comply with regulations in a much faster way, rather than constrained by your capacity in terms of human beings. And of course, when things are done in an efficient manner with almost no errors, providing the same thing at a reduced cost, obviously everybody will be happy. Businesses, customer, and including employees, because employees would start delivering higher value things. Okay, let me move further. This is just to give you an idea where we are today in terms of RPA market size. So today in 2017, we are close to $350 million worth of size, and it is growing very rapidly. 60% compounded annual growth rate is what we have as per the Grand View Research report. And in next 5 years, the market size will go 10 times. So we will become somewhere close to $3.5 billion RPA market. Forrester Research, which is another very renowned analyst organization, they have also projected in similar lines. So by 2021, they have given that the size of the market would be close to 3 billion, which is a very significant size compared to where we are today. But you can see that the market has really is shooting up in the past 2 to 3 years, and lately 1 year plus, this has really seen a tremendous traction, and a lot of RPA projects are getting initiated, and it is growing at 60% annual growth rate. Moving further, so who are the technology providers primarily in the marketplace today? We have vendors such as Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, UiPath, OpenSpan, WorkFusion, and there are 20 plus more vendors in RPA software or RPA technology provider space. Automation Anywhere is the leader as on today. Blue Prism is getting a lot of traction, and a lot of projects are getting kicked off using the Blue Prism. And it's very popular in US North America side. UiPath is another tool which is very, very popular in terms of automating various human-centric processes. OpenSpan is from a big BPM leader named Pegasystems, and they have acquired this company. So another big thing I can share with you is that all the leading business process management companies, the leaders are IBM, Pegasystems, Appian. All these companies today have either tied up or have acquired RPA companies. So for example, recently IBM has tied up with Automation Anywhere. So IBM and Automation Anywhere, they're going big way. Blue Prism and Appian, which is a leader in BPM software space, they have tied up with Blue Prism. UiPath is another leader, and they have tied up with leading BPM platforms as well. OpenSpan has been acquired by Pegasystems. So Pegasystems is now offering the BPM as well as the RPA offering in the market space. WorkFusion is unique in the sense that WorkFusion is purely built on top of Java technology. You would find most of the RPA tools are built on top of .NET technologies, but WorkFusion is an exception using the Java technology. And if you look at service providers, so we have Accenture, the top names that you can think of are providing services. Means these are the companies who are providing implementation services on these RPA tools, such as Accenture, Capgemini, Cognizant, Genpact, Dell, and likewise. So virtually all the leading service organizations are having some practice of delivering RPA projects to their customers. And then we have the consulting organizations who typically work with customers to advise them what is right strategy for them in terms of RPA or digital transformation projects. And RPA is a tool, is one of the tool to get the digital transformation for organizations. And Ernst & Young, Deloitte, KPMG, PwC are the leaders providing consulting in the RPA space. So the bottom line is that there's a lot of traction in RPA space and a lot of traction in terms of integrating RPA with other digital transformation approaches such as BPM or very customized IT project, software development project. So RPA is finding its place to automate these processes and also work with existing digital transformation approaches undertaken by various organizations. Okay, let me move further. And these are some of the names that are using RPA technologies. So, JP Morgan, CATS, Zurich, EXA, McDonald's, Lufthansa, these BBC, insurance company generally, all these companies are using UiPath. And similarly, you can reach some more names where these companies are working with their customers to provide RPA implementations. Okay, let me move further and just I'll give you a few names that typically you would come across. Today, the biggest sector which has adopted RPA is BFSI. Banking, financial services, and insurance is the biggest sector today, as big as I think close to 50% of the overall RPA implementation they have adopted. So they are in a way, this is the market segment, business segment, which are the early adopters, and they have used RPA to automate their business processes. Some of the names that typically you would see, the claim processing, policy administration, any new business preparation, loan origination, procure to pay, hire to retire, report generation, mortgage lending, and the BPO market as a whole. They have a variety of processes, and this is BPO is one major target area where RPA technologies can be applied to automate back office processes in principle. Some more names like invoicing, accounts payable, accounts receivable, so AP and AR processes. Many organizations are automating using RPA technologies today. So this is just to give you an idea that what typical processes are very prevalent in automation for using the RPA technologies, and many organizations, especially in the BFSI and FNE side, are automating. But not to mention about the other sectors. So healthcare is big in automating it. Your in-house processes, travel, telecom, using RPA technologies. Okay, so this I think has given a good overview of RPA and what typical process we typically talk about automating using the RPA technologies. So with this, let me move on to part B of this session, which is UiPath as RPA tool. So I'll escape from the presentation and I will move on to the UiPath. Okay, so UiPath, I'm moving my cursor on UiPath application and clicking on it. So what it will do, it will launch UiPath Studio. UiPath process modeling tool, and this UiPath can be used to model the business processes and automate them to get things done that typically we as human people would need to do interfacing variety of systems. So I'm using the free version of UiPath Studio, which is known as Community. So UiPath Studio Community, which is 100% same as the UiPath Studio. It is just the licensing part. And so UiPath provides the Community Edition with a 12-week license, which you can renew after every 12 weeks. So it is just a practice that they have asked their users to follow, but essentially it is free and it's a great tool to learn RPA. So I'm just clicking on my free one. Okay, so when you start this RPA UiPath Studio, which is process modeling tool, and this is where you do a lot of your development tasks, is one of the three major components. So UiPath, which is one of the vendor for RPA, so there are three major components. So let me just talk about briefly about these three components of UiPath before I come back to Studio and talk about various constituents of it. Okay, so UiPath, three components. One is UiPath Studio, which you have just seen. The second component is UiPath Robot. And the UiPath Robot is the runtime or the bot which will be running your workflow or process that you will be modeling using Studio. So Studio is basically your workflow or process modeler. Robot is your nothing but a runtime bot or runtime robot which will be running your workflow. The third and the last component is UiPath Server. It is also known as orchestrator. And essentially, when you go for enterprise level RPA deployment, typically you will not be simply having just the bots. You would need a server environment where you can manage bots, you can commission, decommission, halt, prioritize, build queues of request processing, and likewise. So there will be many things, transaction management to queue management to prioritization to bot commissioning to bot decommissioning, temporary stop, and stuff like that. So UiPath Orchestrator provides that environment where the bots can be managed in a orchestrated way to get the things done. Because when you look at the enterprise, there will be hundreds and thousands of bots working on different things on different systems, and you need a governance platform where you can manage these bots, and that is known as the UiPath server or orchestrator. Okay, so these are the three major components. UiPath Studio for workflow modeling, UiPath Bot or Robot, which is a runtime bot execution for workflows designed using Studio, and UiPath Orchestrator or Server to provide enterprise level bots management platform. Okay, with this, let me come back and talk about the Studio. So this is the starting screen for UiPath Studio. And what you see over here is very simple interface. This is the main area and it provides you option to start a new empty project, which we will do in our part C to model a simple process. It provides you a starting point also, which is a workflow based process. So essentially you can have a sequence based process, or you can have a workflow based process where you can build in logic for decision making nodes. Then you have a agent process for keyboard and mouse events. We'll talk about it, and all these things are available from inside the Studio main screen. This is just the entry screen, and then when we go to the main screen, then these things are available from there as well, all of them. And then we have a very specialized state machine process designing, and this is a very specialized case where the state management is the key for a process execution, and there are limited number of state to take care of. But anyway, this is a separate topic, and we can deal with about state processes in a separate session. Okay, so and on the right hand side, what you see is the recently opened project. So I've been working on these projects, so that is why they are listed on the right hand side. So it provides me quick, click on it, and these projects will be open. Okay, so if I can click on the left arrow, and that will take me to the main screen. So let me take another 5 to 10 minutes to talk about various components of UiPath Studio, so that you understand what we have to interact with when we do our process modeling. So what I will do, I'll create a new project, which is, so as I said that whatever you could see from your start or entry screen. So this is a start, entry screen, and this is your main screen. You see start, design, execute, and setup as 4 tabs. And we'll talk about these tabs as we make progress in our training sessions. But let us first go into a new and create a new project first. So let me, before I can create a process, let me create a new project. So blank project, it will ask me a few things like what is the project name. So I'll say, okay, RPA demo, and you can give location wherever you want to store this project. I will leave it as it is. This is the path. If you want to give it a description, so I'll say, okay, this is RPA demo session, just some description, and then create. So what it will do, it will create a blank project for me, and will allow me to create a process. Okay, so let us talk about a few UI components of UiPath. Let us start from the menu bar. So as I said, there are 4 tabs. One is the start, where I can quickly go and create a blank project or simple process. Design is the main menu where you can start using functions available to design your process. So you have new. So if I click on it, because I've created a default empty project, it will start showing me some options. So these are basically sequence diagram, flowchart diagram, or state machine. The state machine, same thing, which was, so workflow, I can start from here also. I can start transaction machine-based diagram from here, or I can create from here as well. Okay. You understand what save button would do. This is the run. So once I have created my workflow and I want to execute it, I can either press F5 or click on this green arrow button. Cut, copy, paste, standard functions, recording. So UiPath provides 4 types of recording: basic, desktop, web, and Citrix. Citrix is for virtual machine. So we'll talk about recording in a separate session, but this is one of the major area for automating your processes. Screen scraping. You can scrape the UI elements, and I'll talk about what is UI element in a minute. Data scraping, user event, the same menu which was available in start screen also. Variable managements, and there is a specialized tool provided by UiPath, very helpful for advanced UI automation, known as UI Explorer. Let us see on what we have on the left hand side. So this is the activities screen. Most important part of this screen. So what UiPath has done, they have provided a list of activities which we can leverage to model our process or workflow and then commission them for execution using a bot. So what you see in the available, these are essentially a group of activities. So a sequence diagram is also an activity. Writing an Excel file is an activity. Deleting an Excel file is an activity. Open a browser is an activity. Because these are the typical tasks that we do when we interact with our desktops. Same things have been provided as activities. And most of these activities are grouped into packages, so something known as packages. Let me click on this small box, and this is nothing but a button providing interface for package management. Let us see what is there if I click on it. So what UiPath has provided, they have provided a list of packages. So depending on your needs, what you really need in your automation, you can install those relevant packages only. So if you're from .NET world or Java, you would understand, what typically we mean by packages when we bring in a set of APIs where we need to write code using in our programs. In a similar fashion, these are the packages which have their list of activities as per their common functionality. So for example, UiPath.database.activities are having a list of activities pertaining to database. Similarly, Excel related, mail related, PDF related, and likewise. And I have installed, you can see install. That means I have installed these packages on my machine, and that is why I could see many of these packages available. So if I click on, say, workflow, you can see that there are subgroups of activities available to me. Control flow. Now, these are the actual activities. Now, activity is very important. So, activity is a pre-designed, configured, configurable activity that you can simply drag and drop onto your main screen or main area which is used to model your business process. And every activity would have its configurable properties that you would see in the properties area. We'll see an example in a while, but it is important to understand what are activities, the main area which is used for modeling the workflow, and each activity, depending on what configurable properties they have, will be displayed over here. Let us see there are two more components or two more areas on the screen. So one is the outline. As you start modeling your process, it will start showing you a hierarchical outline of your process. When we model one, then you will start seeing that what I really mean by that hierarchical. It becomes very easy to modify or look into or drill down a specific element just simply by looking into the outline process. Output. Output is used when you execute your workflow using a bot. So bot will run your workflow designed over here, and the outcome or output of your process or workflow will be displayed here. So we'll see what exactly it means. The small, the different buttons that you see are essentially nothing but the filters. Depending on whether your process execution has returned an error or a warning level thing or information level message or just a trace back. It will, depending on what you have enabled, it will only those relevant messages from your process will be displayed here. This one is for timestamp. So if I click on it, my timestamps, every log message or every outcome message will be timestamped. Sometimes you don't need timestamp, so you can disable that. Okay, so what we have talked about, the modeling area, packages. The packages have list of activities depending on the purpose of that package. Each activity has configurable properties. The entire workflow that you will be modeling here will be displayed here as well for quick look. Output is for the execution time messages from your workflow. So we'll see that also. So these are the major components, and we'll talk about the smaller items such as, these are very standard expand or collapse. So if I click on this collapse, then everything will be collapsed. Then I have to again expand it. So very simple thing. I can refresh my screen. Sometimes you have installed a package and activities are not yet in sync, so you can refresh so that you can see those activities as well. You can see the activities for all the packages and likewise. But this is the most important here, which is meant for managing packages. You can uninstall package, you can install package, and likewise. Okay. There are other tabs on the activities area, such as project and library. We'll talk about them as we make progress. You can zoom in, zoom out using the scaling. You can have, the process that you're modeling here, you can fit it, because sometimes when you start working, then it goes, very disoriented and taking a lot of space. It is going out of the visible area. You can use this. This is an overview screen, and it becomes very handy when you have a very large workflow, which typically enterprise level workflows would become. So this provides an overview and easy maneuvering on overall workflow. We'll see this as we make progress. So okay, I think we have seen pretty much all the components. Execute is the runtime, and UiPath provides a debugger also, and you can debug your processes. Setup is more for your orchestrator, because once you have created your workflow, you have tested it in your test environment using test, then you can publish it to your orchestrator for the actual runtime execution. So we'll talk about this as we make progress in the overall training. So let me start broadly speaking on my part C of the last session, last part of the session, part C, where I will model a simple process, and you would start realizing strength of the RPA technology and the strength of UiPath as a RPA tool. Okay, so let's start. One of the strengths of RPA tool is that you really don't need to do any programming. If you recall the BPM or IT project, software development project, you would need to do a lot of integration, a lot of software development using programming languages and likewise. But here, you don't need to do any programming. Well, in extreme cases, yes, in some, when you really want to extend the capabilities of your RPA tool, or you want to go for a customized integration among different systems, then you might need to do some programming, and that could be Java, or you can do .NET. But widely speaking, you don't need to do any software programming. Having said that, a programming knowledge or programming experience, even if it is for 1 year or 2 years, would be very, very helpful, because ultimately you are doing a visual programming here. So you're not doing the die-hard IDE-based software development or software programming, but still here you are doing a visual programming by modeling a process, by feeding in the business logic, by building rules, and then calling methods and functions of underlying .NET DLL APIs. So from that perspective, some understanding of programming is very helpful, but it is not mandatory. But if you have experience of 1 year or so, it is very, very useful in very quickly learning UiPath or any other RPA tool for that matter, and start leveraging. Because if you have seen, let me just again click on the control flow, have a look. We have exactly the same kind of terms or activities that you typically deal with in any programming language, such as loops, do while, for each, if condition, you have break, assign. So typically switch, while, all these are basically nothing but your programming constructs. Exception management we'll see in subsequent classes, but these are the things that you typically use in any programming language. But here these things are available in the form of activities which are configurable. So let me start. So what we'll do in this particular example, we will learn how data scraping works. Our intent, say for example, is to extract data from an e-commerce website, which you want to store that data after extracting from into an Excel or CSV file, which you further wants to use it for further analysis and decision making. So typically, what would you do? You would go to the required or the the e-commerce website that you need to access, you will open the browser, you will go to that e-commerce website, you will search for the item that you're looking for, and then you will look item by item and extract relevant information from that website, and then finally you will make a decision, maybe based on the price, maybe based on some features. And you can repeat the same thing by going to other similar websites and compare the prices, for that matter, for making a decision. But instead of you as a human being, the bot will do it this time. But it will do exactly the same steps that you would do for the same purpose as a human being. And that is, so let me just go, I'm opening Internet Explorer. So as a human being, I'm opening an Internet Explorer. Let us say I'm interested in a LED TV, and I want to know what major LED TVs are available and what are the prices for them. And I want to store that information into a CSV file. So for this, let's say I'm going to a website, Amazon.in. Okay, so I as a human being have opened this website, and now I'm interested in a full HD LED TV of say 55-inch. Okay, and then as a human being, I'm pressing enter so that I can Amazon can return me results pertaining to this search text. Okay, so I clicked enter. So this browser has given me some 48 results, and one by one I will look at all these results. So Panasonic Vera is available at 75,000, Micromax is available 43,000, BPL is like, and likewise. So I will scroll down. Okay, I'll see. Okay, good. I'll see okay, there are few more pages. So I'll click on say next page or two, and I will look at what are other options available. Right now, some are of course the sponsored feature or TV. So Intex is available. So you got the point, right? I will one by one will save. I will open an Excel file on the right hand side, and I will start storing this information, and then finally I will either I will do the same exercise, going to Flipkart.com and see what they are providing, similar kind of TVs, what are their pricing points. I can go even to Snapdeal and do the same exercise. So you got the point. Instead of I doing it, can I create the same thing and model it, and wherein I can extract information? Okay, so let me just close it, and let us see if I can create automation to do this this entire data extraction. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm clicking on sequence, and I'm dropping it into my main area. So what it does, it gives me the sequence, and within the sequence I can create, so as a human being, whatever I have done, I can create the same thing using activities. So what was my first step? First step was open the browser, right? Okay, the same thing I can do by activity. So here is a search which you will be using a lot to find out the correct and desired activities. So the activity I'm looking for is now open browser. So there is one activity. So even if you type few characters, it will try to find out the matching activity. So there is one activity in UI automation package under browser subcategory named open browser. Okay, so I'll drag and drop. I'm just dragging and dropping it inside my sequence. So what it has done, it has created an activity. Now pay attention on the right hand side. It is giving me all the configurable properties. If I want a new session, which is the default one, means a new session will be created of the browser. If I deselect it, the existing session will be used. If I already have an existing browser open, it will be used. I can click on this to hide it also, means it will work in a background. Okay. If I click on sequence, see what happens on the right hand side. Nothing. So the only property available to sequence is the private. Private means if I click on it, then my log messages will not be listed in the output window when I execute this process. Let me come back and select open browser. Now you can see there are two major components of this activity. One is insert URL, means what is the URL that you want to go open, and do part means what exactly you want to do with this particular website. Okay, so I'm interested in and you have to put all the strings in double quotes. That's what I've done. I'm interested in www.amazon.in, and what I'm interested in, remember when I clicked on it and I went to Amazon website, what I have done is I have entered in the search area full HD blah 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 blah. I will do exactly the same thing, but instead of human doing it, I want the bot to do it. So what I will do, I will look for the activity that can enter text into the Amazon.in website, and there is one activity named type into. Very simple. I will drag and drop into do portion. Remember, in the open, the URL part, I've given the Amazon.in, and inside the do, I want to type something. Okay, so what was the thing that I need to search for? I need to search for full HD LED TV 55 inch. But before that, the very important thing is I need to indicate which element I'm really interested in. And this is what you need to teach or need to inform your bot where exactly you want to enter your data. Now you're going to learn the most important thing for RPA at the next step. The fundamental thing, how the RPA has worked. What has made RPA work? Okay, now pay attention. I'm going back to my process model. So this is my process model. So far, I've created a sequence. Inside sequence, I have added one activity named open browser. I've given Amazon.in. Within Amazon.in, I've given another activity named type into, which I need to feed in with the search text. I'll click on indicate element inside browser. So the moment I click on it, what it does, it closes the studio and it allows me to, so I'm just moving my cursor on the screen. And now this is the most important. All the RPA tools have been able to do automation because they can identify excuse me, they can identify UI element. So if you can see, when I move cursor, virtually every UI element is able to identify by the UiPath tool. By the way, the name UiPath itself has been derived from the UI element, user interface element. Because UiPath and also other RPA tools, they are able to identify an individual UI element in the overall scheme of UiPath or UI element hierarchy or UI elements tree. They are able to identify and use it during the execution without errors. So if you see, I'm moving my cursor, all these are UI elements, and depending on where I'm interested in, I will use that. Okay, so I'm interested in this particular UI element. If you see on the left, okay, look, pay attention to the right bottom corner. That is nothing but just a magnifier. Okay, typically it comes on the left top, but if you're using that left top area, because I moved my cursor here, that is why it has moved to the, if I move here, it will go back to the top left. Anyway, that's a minor thing. Here, I'm interested in this particular search field. So if I click on this, I will be able to, my UiPath will be able to understand this is the UI element, and it will allow me to capture text that I want to feed in, and then during the runtime it will feed in that text over here in this UI element, right? So let me click on this. The moment I click on it, it goes to UiPath, and you can see instead of that link, it is now giving me a snapshot. It is just a helping screen so that we know that what we have automated. Okay, so far so good. So now my UiPath knows, my workflow knows that the type into is interested in that particular UI element, and here I will type text must be quoted. Remember, here I will type the search text that I'm interested in. I'm interested in full HD LED TV 55 inch. Okay, and now what I have done after that, I have pressed enter. So how would a bot would mimic the same kind of action? UiPath provides all those special functions. So if you see the plus button on the right hand side, click on it, and you can see the alt or right alt, left alt button, back button, and likewise left control button, right control button. All these are special cases are available. Right now we are interested in enter button. So I will click on enter. Now UiPath has a mechanism to store it in this particular format. This is its own internal pattern, and it will use this pattern to store enter key button. Okay, so far so good. We are done. Right now this bot or this workflow is ready. If I execute its current state, it will open a browser, which is IE. It will open the Amazon.in website, and it will type in the text. Let me just run it, and you might see some problem when the text is being entered. So I'm saving this workflow and I'm executing it. For executing the workflow, you need to click on run. The moment I click on it, I will start getting a message here. And see, this is my outline. Now you can very easily read it. Remember, my main screen has a sequence. Sequence has a open browser activity. Browser activity has do area, which has the type into activity. And type into activity has its own properties that we have configured. So far we have configured the text area, the text that we want to feed into the type into UI element, right? And it knows internally which UI element we have identified. So far so good. Let me save it, and I can click on F5 or I can click on this to run. But before I do that, let me just close the existing IE. So now there's no IE running. Let me run. I'm not doing anything. Right now, look at the bottom right of my bar. A new UI icon has come, a browser has opened, and now it has opened the website, and it has typed in this text and the result, and it has clicked enter, and the results have been displayed. Okay, very simple, straightforward, no-brainer, but you get the idea that what we can do. Let me further extend it. So let me just close it. And the one problem that I was talking about, that because bot can write very fast, it can do things very, very rapidly. You might see that some characters are missed. So for that, there is a configurable property named delay between keys. So when I type F, U, L, L, bot has to do exactly the same thing. And I can provide a delay or a gap between keystrokes of say 100 milliseconds. So this way I will be assured that my text will be typed in without any miss. Okay. Now what we are interested in? We are interested in a major thing, which is I want to really extract the data that is displayed on the screen. And there is, and for that I need to extract data and store it into my CSV file. Let us do that. So this is the major learning topic for today, how to extract or how to scrape data from websites and store them into CSV file. So for that, I will, for the teaching part or for the configuration part, I will go back to Amazon manually. I will search for full HD LED TV 55 inch. Okay. So what I will do, I will click on data scraping. The moment I click on data scraping, a wizard comes into picture. So it says, open your browser, which I have done, and then press next to this dialog. So I need to click on this next. So once I click on this, what it is asking me that select what data element you want to extract. So right now I'm interested in two elements. One is the TV title, TV details, and the price of it. Right now I'm interested. I can extract whatever I'm interested in, everything. And if you can see, this data is a structured data because it has a very standard pattern. It has a title, the manufacturer, the price, the MRP, and likewise. So virtually everywhere you will find the similar pattern. Okay, so this is a good candidate for data extractions, and I will do exactly that. So my wizard is asking me, click on the first instance of the data element that you are interested in. I'm interested in this. The moment I click on it, it comes back. It says, select second element. To create a pattern, you need to indicate a similar field. So this was the field I clicked on. Similar field, preferable the last in the collection. All right. My last in the collection is essentially is the last one in my sequence. So say this one. So what I will do, I will click on next, and then I will click on the element I'm interested in. Okay, I'm interested in this. Okay, the moment I clicked on it, I am getting a pop-up, and it says that okay, fine, I have identified the field that I'm interested in. Would I like to give a name to the column, to this data? I say yes, I'll give a name. Though default is column 1, but I'll give a name as say details. It also asks me that would you, because these are hyperlinked fields, would I like to extract data URL? I would say, well, not for the time being. So I say next. Now you can see that smartly it has given me a snapshot. It is not the outcome. It is a snapshot that, okay, this is the data is coming out. I say fantastic. In this wizard at the bottom, you know how many number of results you are interested in. If you place 0, 0 means all. But if you place a number, then not more than those items will be extracted. So if I place 10, only 10 top TVs will be extracted, the rest will be not. But let's say I'm interested in all, so I'll put a 0. Now, interesting thing is that, am I interested in additional data, such as extract correlated data? And answer is yes, because I'm interested in prices as well. So let me just scroll up and I say extract correlated data. This time I'm interested in the pricing. So I click on it. Same message comes that to create a pattern, select the similar field. Preferably, I can click this one also, but preferably the last one in collection. I'll click on next. Okay, before that, I need to scroll down so that that particular area is visible. I'll click on next and I select this price. Okay, I'm done. Now it is saying that, okay, would you like to give a name to this column? I would say yes, I'll give the name. I'll say price. So first one I have given details, TV details. The second one I'm giving as name is the price. Okay, and then I click on next. You can see that it is giving me some extracted data. Wherever you have something not visible, possibly the data is not available, or there is some challenge with that, which we need to address in fine-tuning the automation. But anyway, that is not the purpose. Purpose is to show the extraction of data and then save it into CSV. So at this stage, I will say finish. I'm done. I don't want to extract any other data. I'm done. Now it is asking me interesting thing. Is this data all, or are there multiple pages? Okay, let us do one thing. We'll say yes, there are multiple pages. And I click yes. And it is asking me that, okay, indicate the link which is taking me to the next page, which is this link. Or I can click on here as well. Let me click on this. My automation is done. So far I have created a sequence. Within sequence I have opened the browser. Within the browser I have typed in activity for typing in the search text, and I have fed the search, which I can even further take it out to an external variable, which we can talk in subsequent classes, to even make it hard coding independent workflow. Very much possible. So after the browser has opened the search text that I'm interested in, my data scraping wizard or activity, which is a set of activities, is not simple one activity. It is said it will use the same. So attach browser is another activity which has been automatically created by the automation using the data scraping wizard. And it attaches the existing in-scope browser, which is Amazon.in browser that we have opened up. And what it will do, based on the pattern that we have trained it, it will extract that data and will store somewhere. Now, what is that somewhere? Okay, if I click on this extract structured data, and don't worry about these things, as a professional workflow, in subsequent, we can talk about the best practices where we have to write the right text. I can edit it, right? Here I can edit. So I can give a more meaningful names, and that is always a good practice, but we can talk about that in other classes. Now pay attention to this extract structured data activity, which has been automatically placed based on the usage of this wizard. Look at the right hand side. Every activity has input and output. There may or may not be any input, there may or may not be any output, But broadly speaking, from structural point of view, every activity has input and then output. So what this activity has done, it has created an output of variable name extract data table of type data table. Now here it is slightly, we'll start going into heavy duty stuff. So what, and if you are coming from a .NET programming background, and if you have used data tables, then you would understand it very easily. But otherwise also, data table is nothing but a tabular data structure wherein my data has been stored into columns and rows. That is it. And it has given me a name to that variable where my data has been stored, named as extract data. So as a programmer or as a process modeler, I'm not doing anything, but I'm using activities which is helping me to store data into a runtime variable of type data table, and the name of the runtime variable in this particular case is extract data table. If I click on this, you will see the same variable created by my UiPath automation. Anyway, more on this later because that itself is a session. So, so far I have created automation, I've extracted data and data has been stored into data table, but how to really save this data table into a CSV file? That is my next step and last one. So for that there is one activity named write CSV. I can write into CSV. I can write it into Excel file, but CSV is also can easily be opened in Excel files. So let us see how I can use write CSV and store this data table into a physical desktop file. So I'll drag and drop and I will place just after the extract structured data. So the variable is still in scope, which is extract data table here, and I can feed that particular data stored in data table named extract data table into this activity. And this activity has two configurable fields. The first one is provide the path where I want to store the file. And what is the data that you want to store? Very simple. Okay, so I'll give in double quotes C: users Ramesh desktop, and let's pick a name, say results.csv. Okay, so my results.csv is the name of my file where I need to store data. And the question is, what data I really need to store here? So I'm interested in extract data table. Very simple. So I'll start typing. The moment I type, it will give me all in scope. And this is scoping of variables and arguments. Arguments is another thing which is used to communicate between workflows and different workflows, or you can invoke multiple workflows into a combined high-level workflow and pass information or communicate between sub-workflows using arguments. But that's a separate chapter altogether. Right now we are interested in the data stored in a variable named extract data table, and I'll simply select it. Now pay attention. All these icons you have been looking for a while. These are there because somewhere something is not yet complete. So these are just the warnings that I need to complete. Okay, so the moment now I'm done. So the moment I save it, all those warnings have disappeared. Means all the workflow entities or activities are programmatically correct. There is no programming or modeling problem in any of my activities. That's the meaning of that exclamation yellow one. Say, if I say remove this, pay attention, it will come back. And because it is a part of the hierarchy, it will show error at each and every level because this is not yet complete. Okay, let me complete it. And I'm giving, and I just click outside or save. See, my workflow is complete, and this is my entire workflow so far. So inside do, I have two activities. One is extract structured data, and the second one is the write CSV. And these are the messages coming from the previous execution. When I ran it and it started, so RPA demo, which is name of my project, execution started, and this is the execution ended, and it is showing me the time taken, 6 seconds taken to complete my workflow. And you can see there are two information, no error, no warning, two messages were displayed. That's the meaning of this output window. All right, so far so good. So let us see if we can run. And in fact, I can even write a message. So let's write a message once we are done with our workflow. So there is an activity named message box. I'll drag and drop message box after the write CSV. You can see my outline is also growing as I feed in. And message box is nothing but simple dialog box, you know, sharing information that, okay, where we are and stuff like that. It's up to you how you use it. So I'll say, okay, data extraction completed. That is it. All right, so I'm pretty much ready. So this is my workflow in its simplest form. It opens a browser, it opens a website, e-commerce website, it types in the desired text, it uses the data wizard, data scraping wizard to extract data as desired by the modeler, and then stores that data into a file named results.csv on the desktop. And finally, before it closes the workflow, it will show me a message. If everything goes well, then it will show me a message, data extraction completed. Okay, so I have saved it, and before I run it, let me just close the Internet Explorer. All right, so I'm good to go. So let us start the execution. And once I start the execution, this is the studio. It will run a bot, and bot will show as a UI similar kind of a icon here. It will run the process. The messages, if any, will be displayed here. Once it is done, it will close it. Message will be shown first, and then the process will be ended. And a file named results.csv will be created on my desktop. So desktop, I don't have any CSV file right now. It will create that. So let's start. No IE running. So I'm clicking on it. I'm not doing anything. It is all bot. You can see the bot has started. It has opened the browser. The bot is now searching for text. Now you can see that it has failed to write the F, and this is the problem I was talking about. And now in this case, so you can imagine this is a good case for learning also. For enterprise production level automation, you need to address all the situations, so that you are very sure. Now in this workflow, I need to bake in to make sure a check that the right text has been fed into my automation, because it is not able to find out the relevant UI, hence it has failed. And we can take this as an as an advantage and automate our process further, refine it further. Remember, we have opened this browser, and we learned something as UI element. Now, the very important element for any automation is known as selector. Now, how would you find a selector? If I run this workflow again, probably it will run fine, but if depending on what text I'm searching for, now pay attention, my browser is having a title amazon.in : space f is missing ull blah blah blah. What if I'm searching for, say, refrigerator? A refrigerator text would have come here. My search would have failed because my selector. So this is a new and very, very important, and there's another session altogether for selectors. Selector is a unique way of identifying UI elements. And when I go for selecting and searching, now for example, when I search for it, it is you searching for this text. My title of the browser is that only. When I have attached it, and I click on attach and I go to selector, you would see it is having full HD blah 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 blah, isn't it? And because it is not able to search for a UI element having a title named so and so, hence it is failing. This is one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons. Now UiPath provides a mechanism known as wild characters. Wild characters. So any variable part I can replace with star and it will function. Now it is independent of what text I'm searching for, right? So this is one automation. Now selector. Now selector itself is a chapter. It is very important chapter to understand how automation is done, and this is a unique way of identifying UI elements in your UI hierarchy. Okay, let me go back. Another thing that I have done, remember, in my text, I have given a delay, right? This delay is good enough though, but I can still bake in to place a check that my text has been properly entered. But let me just not do that and simply save it and make sure that no browser is running. And let me run it. So when I run it, it will do exactly the same thing again. But at least this time my selector is off or full, it's a dynamic in nature. Doesn't matter what I'm searching for. Okay, so it has opened the browser, it has searched. Now remember, it has refreshed the page. What is doing it? It has gone to page number 2, page number 3. Right now it is in page number 3, extracting data. Once the extraction of data is complete, it will come back to UiPath, and before that it will show me a message, my data extraction is complete. So let's see when it comes. My bot is still in execution. Data extraction is done. It is probably saving it into CSV, and now the message has come. This is what I've coded in my workflow. Data extraction completed. Okay. Now let's see if I have created. So it has taken 60 seconds to complete the workflow, and it has created the results.csv file. Let me open it and see if it has the desired data. Okay, so it has got the desired data. Remember, the column name I have given, the details was for the TV, and the price is for the price column. And it has given me 45 results. Somewhere the data is not there, but we need to look into the website whether the data is really there or not, right? So this is a simple example of how we can leverage UiPath automation to automate and extract data from e-commerce website. But you can model this as a very, very complex process. You can have multiple systems, desktop applications or remote server, remote application running in a remote machine over the internet You can all interact with the application. Doesn't matter where they are residing. Recently, I came across one company. The single bot was interfacing with 61 applications. So you can imagine the same bot was able to interact with so many different systems, different applications, and finally getting the things done in a very orchestrated way of execution and taking care of exceptions on its way as programmed and as designed. So with this, I close explanation of data scraping and extracting data from a web-based interface and storing the data into a CSV. Okay, so that's the closure.